Hello everybody. So today we're going to be going over our vertical push progression. Now, vertical push is usually within the realm of like a shoulder press or an overhead press, but we're going to get started with the necessary steps needed before you can finally get to that overhead press to ensure that you have the appropriate movement patterns in place and that you're able to perform the exercise to the best of your ability. So first, we're going to start off with a backwards crawl. This is an easy exercise to do at home, especially during the quarantine. This will just ensure that you have the shoulder stability to continue to move on. If you suffer from any sort of pain or discomfort while you're performing this exercise, we may need to just start working on a little bit more mobility first before attacking on the weight and increasing our resistance exercise progression. Now, you can walk around the room, you can stay in place and just kind of go side to side. Just really get a feel for that crawling motion. Just understand exactly where you're putting that weight on your shoulders and making sure that there's no sort of instability or pain present. The next exercise we'll be performing is an overhead carry. This is also to ensure that we have that stability in place. So grabbing a kettlebell, placing it through your palm, and then bringing it up, trying to have your bicep right next to your ear in order for you to maintain that strong, stable shoulder position. So walking around, I would give it a couple sets of 30 seconds, or you could do around 15 yards per arm. This is a great way just to make sure that you are ready for that next step. Now, we're gonna be getting into the nitty-gritty of it. We're gonna be going towards our half kneeling landmine press. Now, the half kneeling landmine press is gonna be the first exercise where we're actually gonna really tack on that resistance there. So what you're gonna do is find a landmine, or what you could do is you could put a barbell in the corner, put a plate on top of the end in the corner, make sure it's not moving out of the way. And then, so since we have that one axis right there, what we'll be doing is we'll be sure that we're bracing our core, that our hips are not dipping too far forward, too far backwards, that we're about at a 90-degree angle with our knee and our hip, that we're standing up nice and tall, and then with each arm, we're gonna press up. Now, when we press up, you don't wanna be doing a full range of motion, so we're not completely locking out the elbow. We're making sure that we do have about a 3/4 motion going on there, just to ensure that we're keeping resistance and tension on that shoulder muscle. So I would perform this for as long as you need until you can feel comfortable in building up that strength, but we're finally going to be using some free weights, where with our free weights we're going to be using either a dumbbell or a kettlebell in a half kneeling position. So on one arm, half kneeling dumbbell press, half kneeling kettlebell press. Similar motion, but you can get a little bit of a larger range of motion there. So really ensuring that we're about 3/4 motion, but at the same time, because we are not limited by that axis, we are going to be able to get a larger range of motion there. So bring it all the way down, making sure that it's parallel. So making sure you get that good that good stretch in that anterior shoulder muscle, so the clavicular head of your deltoid. And then after you do this, I would probably stay on this stage for about a week or so, just making sure that you have that necessary shoulder strength and core strength in order to progress from here. Next, we'll be going to our standing one dumbbell or one kettlebell shoulder press. Now, this is going to be working core and your shoulders at the same time, mostly because when you have that 40 to 50 pounds on one side, you're going to be working anti-lateral flexion. So your body's going to be resisting the urge to go towards that weight, or to lean, or to compensate. So making sure that your shoulder is nice and parallel, and that you are really engaging that core to make sure that you are performing the exercise to the best of your ability. Really watching your breathing. So I didn't cover breathing earlier, but inhaling as you bring the weight down, and then exhaling as you push up. Once you have that completed, then you can start working with 2 dumbbells, 2 kettlebells, a little less core involvement there. Personally, I would also kind of factor in here at a certain point. You can balance on one leg, so have like one leg up and your knee and hip at 90 degrees, while on the opposite leg arm, you you have a dumbbell and so that you're working that balance position, or if you're still feeling a little bit unstable after coming from that kneeling or that half kneeling shoulder press, that you go towards a machine or something like that. I'm not a huge advocate for machines, but if you are still having a hard time grasping the movement, go there for a couple sets, work your 3x12, work your 4x8, stuff like that, where you can still build that hypertrophic response in the muscle, so increasing the muscle fiber size. Next, we're going to be going into our barbell movement. Once you're finally ready to get up under the bar, you've been working shoulders for a couple weeks now. This exercise is great. It allows you to tack a lot of weight on the bar. It's not super technique heavy, but overall works your core, works your shoulders. Great exercise for building strength in the shoulder muscles. Now, when you start with this exercise, there's a couple things you know. So you're going to get underneath the bar. I want you to set it at mid-sternum height, or what you can do is just make sure that is slightly below chest level. And then what you want to do is thumbs width apart. Thumbs width apart, or depending on where your shoulder mobility is still at, is where you're going to be putting your grip. You're going to get underneath it, chest up, shoulders back. One of the main cues is tight armpits. So making sure that those elbows are really close to your side. Just squeezing, pulling those shoulder blades back in order for you to create some tension there, and then also keeping your chest up. Now, before you even begin, foot placement, about hips width apart. It's not too intensive. You can really mess around with this depending on what kind of press you will be doing, but we are strictly talking about the press today. Okay, so we're not doing any sort of military press, anything like that. So feet out, so toes slightly out, hips width apart stance. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna drive and push our hips forward. Okay, so when we have our hips forward, then what you're gonna do is you're gonna have a slight lean back. So with your chest up and your shoulder blades back, you're gonna almost have a lean back. Now, you have the bar ready to go. What you're gonna do is you're gonna have those hips push forward as you begin to lift the bar up, so pressing it up, and you want it really close to your face. So not enough that you're gonna bop yourself in the nose, but if it's close to touching your nose, or I have a beard, so I cue it, as long as it's touching my beard on the way up, then we have a good rep. So we're trying to reduce the amount of distance between our end point and our starting point. So going in a straight vertical line is the best way to go. Any sort of horizontal displacement is gonna make us exert more energy, and then at the same time, we could miss the rep because of that increase in energy expenditure. So drive the hips forward, body back, shoulders back, pressing up, bringing it right by the nose, and then as you bring it by the nose and you clear your forehead, you want to drive that head through the hole, okay? So drive your head through the hole once it gets past your forehead, and then you want to almost shrug at the top, bringing those shoulder blades up once you finish in order for us to complete the rep. So then inhale as you bring the weight back down, repeat, exhale, push up, have your biceps kind of close by your ears, shrug, and then you're able to keep repeating the motion until you finish. A couple things to watch out for. A lot of people start bending their knees during this, and so that is more like we're getting into a push jerk territory. So if you're working power development, great. If you're not and trying to build strength, don't do it. Don't cheat yourself on these reps. We want to make sure that we have good, nice looking controlled reps. And overall, following these progressions will allow to make sure that you are not putting yourself in jeopardy for any sort of future injuries in your shoulder, and that at the same time, we're taking the necessary steps so that you are able to progress effectively, and you'll be really amazed at how fast your progression goes from all these, especially if you've been doing overhead press for a little bit, and you're like, man, I'm just not getting it. And then you can go all the way back to square one. You'll be working on those beginner exercises, and then eventually progressing to that overhead press, which will, overall, those movement patterns will solidify your overhead press. So I appreciate all of you for watching, and thank you very much. Have a good one.